So yeah, let's talk about the hot topic of coaching. So I've had this conversation, with a few people around the scene about why the UK doesn't produce those high level pros or doesn't produce enough high level pros. And when I say high level pros, I mean the guys playing in the NBA or Euroleague, which to me are the highest levels of basketball you can play at in the world. So yeah, I'm curious to get your take on what you think. I guess the issue is in regards to the development of players in the UK and why we don't seem to have those top tier pros.
Mm. Is that solely coaching or logistics, or because sometimes a lot of it's hand in hand?
Yeah,
Like, you'll know as a player, facility wise, it's a nightmare to get. It's really difficult. It's expensive. So clubs are spending a lot of money on facilities. Clubs will have to spend money on other things other than paying athletes or taking care of athletes. But I think based on my time in England, being part of that program and part of the regional performance program, I don't think there's enough. There's enough infrastructure in place, and I don't think there's enough of an investment. So you're an accountant. I was looking, for example, if you look at Basketball England, they spend about £1 million on staff wages. If you look at what our high performance program costs, about 300,000. So I think the lever needs to change. We need to invest much more. If you look at Basketball Australia, they invest around about 66% of
yeah,
their income on high performance. So, and our high performance at the minute is the Aspire program. If I can, it hasn't changed too much, but obviously I've been out the same. But it's around about one session per month, and it was back then a blocked session. So say November is on ball defense, and now we never do it again until next November. So you're talking about seeing the best kids in the area once a month. I don't think that's enough. The regional tournaments were good, but I felt like when I was there again, it was just my personal opinion of how I think basketball should be played. It was the style of play and the system of play didn't really benefit development, and it actually became more about winning, and winning led to maybe England jobs, things like that.
yeah,
So coaches were more inclined to focus less on development and more on winning. And it seemed to mean quite a lot to them, winning. Whereas maybe it was just because I was the North East coach and we won once in like 3 years. Maybe that says more about me as a coach. But the players that we developed was, for example, Matty Armstrong went to D1 when he was 19 with Bradford Dragons. Torsans just went to Princeton. There's a few other kids there that have done well out of it. And for me, the technical skills aren't taught well enough from anywhere below under 23s. And I always think it's like a language where you've got a certain amount of time to learn it. If you don't learn it in that amount of time, it's very, very difficult to then pick up, high level footwork, high level, advanced ball handling, decision making, being able to multiple passes off pick and roll. The big one for me is shooting. We just don't teach it well enough as a country. And if you look at every direction that we're going in basketball, you need to be able to shoot the ball. And then if you also look at the GB style of play, and what I'm not talking about is what the seniors input. What I'm talking about is what they say is the GB style of play. So if you go and watch a GB coach that's running the clinic and talk about style of play, it's offensive rebounding. So that's one part of our style of play. Deflections. So waving your hands around and hopefully touching the ball. That's another style of play. And then running. So running, jumping, and waving our hands around. And for me, it's if that's your top level, so that's your GB, how does that filter down into players wanting to develop technical skills? So I think the players, we have a huge amount of talent here in GB. I think we could be one of the dominant nations
we should
in
be,
the
man.
world.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
we should be. We don't utilise past players enough and their knowledge and what they know and what they've experienced. We don't transition them into coaching well enough. and the coaching development program isn't strong enough. And yeah, fundamentally, we just don't teach enough technical skills. We don't use games-based approach enough, but at the same time, people think games-based approach is roll the ball out, and they don't add constraints. They don't add what they want to actually develop from that. And you'll know from my practices, you'll play a lot. You'll play a lot because that's how you develop. But there'll be a points-based system. There'll be stop and start. You'll be learning. You'll be teaching. You'll understand exactly what you want to get from the drill. So for me, a lot of it comes down to that. Like we've got, so my friend Joe Riley, he's been in some of the sessions that you've been at. But he runs Hoops Europe. He spent 3 years at Estudiantes, and nobody's asked him about how they develop technical skills in Estudiantes and why don't we do that here? Nobody. And then, there'll be other coaches out there that I don't know that'll be doing the same thing. So I just think it's one of those things where, because we don't teach and focus on offense enough, even when I went to the England program, for me personally, it was just heavily focused around, intensity on the defensive end, getting after it, waving our hands around, going after the offensive boards. And that's the next thing you'll see. So 5 guys crashing the boards, that's on basketball immersion. So every coach in the country will do it. But I don't think if I'm a youth player and I'm looking up at the top level, how does that help me translate my game? And then if I'm a player that's transitioning out to junior basketball and all I can do is offensive rebound, deflect the ball and run, we're going to be limited with what we're doing. We're not teaching finishing around the hoop, things like that. So for me, there need to be the focus. Offense needs to be the focus, and it needs to be really clear and simple.
Yeah. No, I agree. I agree with you wholeheartedly. I think there definitely is a lack of teaching when it comes to technical skills. And, I think the crazy thing is also I think there's not a lot of coaches who can teach the things you're talking about. I think that's another issue in itself. I think the standard of coaching generally in this country, I believe, is low. I think it is. And this is an indictment to the coaches per se. If you've got a passion to coach, you've got passion to coach. But one of the critiques I've heard over the years is that it's too easy to get a coaching job. People with relatively little experience are being put in positions where they're, coaching some of the best players in this country, and what is that that doesn't benefit, us, competing on the international stage. But yeah,
it is one of those things. Like the thing is that the coaches in this country are hugely passionate. They don't get a lot out of it. Like there's no career in coaching. You're not coming out of there buying a big house and balling out, retiring, till your next contract. You're not going to get a career out of coaching in this country. So what you've got to think of is the development that goes into coaches. So if for me, for example, I'm fortunate that maybe my friend Joe went and had this experience and then he passed that knowledge on to me, and I was questioning him. If I didn't have Joe, then I would be doing the same thing. The thing that I do is watch a lot of basketball and go, okay, there's a skill. I like that. I like the way he finished there. Right, I'll go and teach that. But it's actually quite difficult to teach something as high level as that without demonstrating and talking it through. Now, you can get the video and show them the video, especially with social media these days. But there's not a coach development program. There's nowhere I can go really and get really good quality, high quality CPD in this country. And the other thing, the coaches don't work well enough to do that and sort of have a open enough dialogue to improve. But I think, for me, in some ways, it is really easy to get a coaching job. There's definitely people. The other thing is they don't leave. So once they're in that position, they're not going anywhere.
Yeah.
So what else? A lot of them. What else would they do? So there's positions like you can tell the coaches around the country that have done the same thing and are still producing the same thing, but there's no one for them to go to receive mentorship. Like you're working at a quality company now. You wouldn't run an organisation like this in terms of, Chuck, do you know anything about tax? Yeah, come in. Okay, right. You're running you're running the tax department, and then that's it. You never
Yeah.
get any training again. You never.
Yeah.
I mean, no one's ever watched me coach.
Mm.
I could be the worst coach on this planet. Like
Yeah.
nobody would ever know. And I've been an England coach, a regional performance coach, and coached NBL Division 4, 3, 2, 1, Bucks 3, 2, 1, Premiership. But
Yeah.
nobody has watched me coach.